As an adult survivor of a mother who is a sociopath and a narcissist who's been no contact, estranged, for over 30 years, I talk a lot about my experiences and the reasons why I ended up going no contact. And in addition to that, I talk about the fact that there was a time I was estranged, particularly from my eldest daughter, and how we healed that relationship. And the buck started with me because I raised her, not the other way around. Inevitably, somebody will make a comment on my page that needs to be addressed when it comes to estrangements and who's at fault and who's at blame and who do we hold accountable and all of that. This comment I'm about to read you, it's short and, well, it's short, was made on a video where I'm talking about how as adult survivors of abuse, who oftentimes end up passing down trauma and as a result of that end up in estrangements with our own adult children, where you should be looking for advice and healing and where you should not, and what the red flags are for the estranged parents out there who are the root cause in terms of that estrangement likely lasting for the whole rest of their lives. If you're looking to heal those relationships, going on a page and taking advice from somebody who has not healed that relationship is probably not the best place for you to be. I will link that video in my description for this video, so anyone who wants to see that and have more in-depth information is able to do so. In the meantime, let's read the short little comments so that I can respond to it. Let's get into it, shall we? Is it only the parents' fault? My answer to you is this. There is no such thing as always and never in family dynamic relationships. However, that being said, there is the recognition that a parent brings a child into the world and lays the foundation for whatever that relationship becomes or does not become in the future. And whether a parent willfully, intentionally, like my mother did, abuses their child, or unfortunately grows up in that system, doesn't get the healing and the help and support that they need, and as a result of that they pass down trauma, ultimately we as parents set the tone. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, yes, it is our responsibility. And outside of something like, a mental health disorder like schizophrenia, for example, it is our responsibility because we're the ones who create the relationships with our children. And that's why it's so, so, so important that if you are a parent out there and you have survived trauma, to get yourself the help that you need so that you can show up in the best ways possible to ensure that you are not passing down so much trauma to your child that it creates an estrangement. And that passing down of trauma can look like lots of different things. One of the things that I did with my kids that I would not have done if I had been in a place of better awareness and love for myself, a better relationship with myself, is I created instability residentially. So we lived in the same neighborhood. My kids went to the same school for the majority of their life. My youngest daughter went K through grade 12. And I gave that type of stability. I was able to manage that. But I moved house a lot more than I should have. And so on one hand, I gave my kids the stability of going to the same school in the same neighborhood with the same friends. But on the other hand, I didn't give them the stability of housing that I should have. And a lot of that had to do with my financial irresponsibility, with my lack of understanding that I could create stability for myself, what that looked like. I was too busy creating my own chaos and sabotaging and behaving in ways that also were quite immature. And unfortunately, that did traumatize my children and it impacted their stability. Did I do it on purpose? No. Is it my fault? Yes. I was the adult in the room. That's just one example of a way that we pass down trauma that impacts our children negatively, that later on we might have to deal with, that we might have to, pay consequences for and take ownership over. There's no question that that created instability and anxiety for my children and impacted their adult lives. We talk about it, so I know it did. And I have no problem taking ownership of it. So again, yes, it's our fault. Why is that such a horrific thing to have to own? If we can own that we didn't do something or did too much, even in some cases, to create the right kind of stability in our relationships with our children, if we can't own that, we can't make amends. We can't do better. We can't know what our children are thinking and feeling and needing from us, and therefore we cannot repair our relationships with them. And that is our job. It is, unless you don't care about it. And those estranged parents out there who can't admit what they did, fully own it for what it is, without making excuses, are the parents who are never going to have relationships with their adult children. When my children and I talk about these things, I don't explain the whys behind it. I apologize. I ask them, is there something I can do or give them now that would be helpful? We talk about the psychology behind it when it's appropriate. So meaning, like when I had a conversation, for example, with my youngest daughter about this, we were talking about money management and stability and things like that. So it was appropriate to talk about what self-sabotage and things like that look like. But that comes after the ownership and the apology, when that adult child comes back in seeking that knowledge, not before. I hope this video is helpful for you. I hope it frames it for you properly. And I hope that you recognize that when it comes to these estrangements, they are also complex and complicated. And even down to talking about parental alienation. I married somebody when I was much younger, not my ex-husband that I talk about, that was the good ex-husband, who created a lot of damage, who was a violent individual. And because I wasn't able to make healthy choices, I also passed down trauma through that. And if he had been able to be around to alienate me from my children, he would have done so. It does exist. Ultimately, though, I married him, and I have to take responsibility for that. Not responsibility for the fact that he victimized me, not responsibility for the things that he did to me or even the things he caused, but responsibility for the fact that I didn't go and get the help that I needed to make better choices and to understand that I deserved better, to do better for my children. The roads lead back to me. Somebody else out there may not feel like that, but I've repaired my relationships with my adult children. And if you haven't, then look deeper, dig deeper. I'm here to support anybody who wants to be here, who wants to learn, who wants to heal. I don't discriminate whether or not you're an estranged adult child or an estranged parent. I want to heal relationships, and I want people to find their healing, and I would like to meet people where they are. I specialize in estranged adult children who come from narcissistic family systems. And in that, I also have some estranged adult parents because of that passing down of the trauma. Thanks for the comment. I'll see you soon. I hope you have the most amazing day. A day as amazing as you are. Thanks.